Yes, yes, we're live. We are live. Normally, I don't do it like this. Normally, I kind of bring people in, but we was just here having a chat, and I'm thinking, you know what, big night tonight, innit? And I'm kind of wasting guys' time, so we've had a little bit of a catch up in the background. But as promised, we need to get a full kind of breakdown and update on what's going on in Hull at the moment, particularly with United Hull Against Grooming. And we'll have to talk about the title, mate, because I'm sure I keep mentioning it every time I open my mouth with that title. But also, I want to definitely catch up with Donna Proctor as well. Donna Proctor, very closely linked to Ethan's journey of recovery, and also Donna is very heavily involved with trucks, just as in Ethan, the little young boy that we're trying to raise money for and awareness for charity. He's banging to trucks as well. So we're going to try and cover both grounds, but at the same time, try and keep it concise. So firstly, Ian, mate, how are you doing? Thank you for jumping on.
I thought, yeah, I'm good, mate. Thanks. Yeah, no bother at all.
Mate, I know, time's money and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's just slowly moving on. The girls are doing a wonderful job, to be honest. They've been working very closely with Maggie Oliver and her foundation. So that's moving in, a really good move is that one. They've been down to the survivors summer ball, I think it was, down in Manchester.
Right.
So they've made some good connections there. They're moving on with that. We're still obviously heavily involved in this fundraising to get the solicitors or to get legal representation for the girls. It's moving good. I mean, we've got our own GoFundMe page, the one you've so kindly set up as well for your bike ride. We're moving. We're going in the right direction.
Well, brilliant. You've kind of mentioned a lot there. Can I just break down little bits?
Yeah, by all means. Yeah.
The survivors, you say they've moved across and started working with Maggie Oliver. I agree with you. Any exposure, but from what there's a lot of people have plus and minuses on anything in any organisation you go with nowadays. Everyone's got an opinion, but personally, exposure-wise, and Maggie Oliver does come across as a very lovely lady. Now, I can only hope and assume that they are getting the utmost care that they need. So the best of luck to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you seen any change in these said ladies now they're going through this process?
Absolutely. Since I first met them, obviously we only started the group up in sort of first week of December last year, and right from the off, from meeting them, the confidence is just unbelievable. Like with one of the girls who spoke on the march, yourself, Maddie, she even said on that day, up until that day, she felt she was on her own, but she's now realised she's got an army of, people behind her. And that touched the nerves with me. I don't know, I'm sure it did with many people on the march itself. But since, the confidence of them all, one of the other girls, they come to the meetings with us. Amber's just, she's just done an exposure with Sky, and she hasn't spoken about anything at all. She's been obviously with the police, such forth, but she hasn't really come public with a lot of it. She's kept an anonymity with all the other Sky productions, but this one she came out and spoke. They filmed her explaining what happened while she was put in care, the fact that she was abused while she was in care, all this. She's come out and said it and said, no, I want people to know who I am. And that just goes to show that the confidence with these girls is growing by the day.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I would imagine, I can't put words in any of these ladies' mouth, but it's not just a question of themselves now. They'll probably see the inspirational role that they can have by expressing and going through their own journey with this as well. It's like a bike.
Absolutely.
Because I wonder how many survivors that might encourage to then either get involved in an organisation or just to have the guts to talk about it.
Well, since Amber's story came out, obviously it came out on the Sky a week last Monday. The girls contacted me, or we have a WhatsApp group that we talk on regular, and they contacted me. This is what's going in the local press tomorrow. This is what's going in the nationals. This is what's going here. This is what's on Sky. So I was waiting for it to come on the Sky News, and I don't know how to explain. Great. This is what we need. These girls need to stand up and say, look, this is what happened that you lot are hiding from the public. The authorities, the child support agencies, all these people, the police, the authorities, everybody's just been hiding that, pushing it into a corner. But these girls have said, no, hang on, enough's enough. This is what happened to me. Stand up and take account of be accountable for what you've done to me. I mean, she's great. She's gone on holiday. She goes end of this week, actually. She goes this week on holiday, and I said, go for it, girl. You deserve that. It's a massive step for her. She's but yeah. And we've got another meeting coming up a week on Tuesday, and the girls always turn up. And this week when they come, a couple of them are going to come and have a chat, and they want to actually get up and say, right, this is what's happening. They want to start telling their story. Before, they've always been there. They've always been in the background just to see what was going on. But now, we've had a discussion, and this, I said to them, would you like to stand up and tell people what's happening? What progress you're making, where this is going, what more do you want from us? And yeah, we will. So little Maddie's come in, and Lilia. So yeah, it's great. Absolutely brilliant. These girls are picking up the confidence day by day, and it's great. It's great to see.
I can imagine very satisfying for you, mate, knowing how you felt initially in order to, speak about it and set up that event that you did. To see actual true change, I mean, this has got to be something that even I could look at, because I got disillusioned with street marching, and, how much does it actually change things? And
yeah,
we can all kind of add to that one way or the other. But particularly, I know you've done a lot in the background as well as that march. But that march, if you think about it, that one little flash event from what could be known as a kind of unknown group that just set up kind of in a short space of time in Hull. Look what it's done.
Absolutely.
If you can affect other people in other areas and kind of get the message out to them, that's great. But if only you've helped the people that were front and center of that march, I mean, that is the
absolutely.
So, mate, I can imagine the satisfaction you will get just watching them kind of grow in this journey, and the level of acceptance and moving through, and it'll kind of enrich their lives, no doubt.
It is, yeah.
In terms of the actual event now, what we were talking about before, could you kind of express a little bit about the reason why the funds now are needed? We've spoke about the survivors. They seem to be doing very well, but justice has not been done here. So we've got to kind of bring it down a little peg or two. I'm afraid to say, because that's the whole reason.
Absolutely.
Well, you want just one run through Operation Marksman, mate, just to put it in your words, and two, basically the next level now, which is the solicitors' fees and what their role would be, and kind of what, from there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, a little bit about Marksman. For those who don't know, it was an ongoing 2-year investigation on child sexual exploitation in Hull. The police are saying there's 2 survivors. I've got evidence of more. They've spoken to 3 girls. The police's version of events are very contradictory. I've now got evidence of more that has actually spoken to the police and been dismissed and never part of Marksman. During the time, obviously, the police did this 2-year investigation, arrested 34 people, confiscated thousands of electronic devices. No evidence was found, even though I have a letter from the chief of police in Hull who said there was some evidence of some criminal activity. Now, I've got that from the chief, and yet there was still no prosecutions. So if he's saying there was some evidence of criminal activity, why was there no? I'm sure if I was driving my car with no MOT, that's a criminal offence. I would have been prosecuted. It's irrelevant of the level of criminal activity. It's still a crime, and he's stating that. Yeah. And when these girls, when this was happening from the ages of 13 past the ages of 17, until the eldest one of them broke free and started to the police, and which started marksman. No legal representation was given to the girls, none whatsoever. So it was more of a case of they've done their investigation, close the case, no evidence, we don't go away, don't come back. That was, to put it bluntly, that's what the police have said. When I've spoken to the girls, obviously, as you well know, we started the group up as a non-profit. There was no intention of making any money, but through to just donations, there's some money, just do something with it. Selling merchandise, the profits are going up. And as we've discussed in previous podcasts, we've said about we wanted to give it to a charity, and they didn't want our money. It wasn't good enough for them, because we worked too closely with the authorities, the council, the police, and they didn't think it was right. So when I spoke to the admin team and the girls themselves and said, well, what do you want from it? What? And we came with the idea of, why don't we actually get a solicitor, a lawyer, to look through this case of one of the girls? So one of the girls says, well, you can look through mine. She brought all the evidence to one of the meetings. And I do have a photo, and it's shocking, the amount of folders of statements, various bits of evidence. In these, they have registration numbers, addresses, people's names, all this evidence that the police said there wasn't none. So that's the idea. So we decided, right, let's go really hard for this, raising some money to get somebody to, even, if it costs £2,000 or £3,000, to get a solicitor to trawl through all this evidence from one of the girls, find something in there that can then lead to a prosecution, lead to the case being reopened with a bit of legal backing. Somebody, I'm just a guy on the street.
I mean, this is not a question of hiring someone to find something that's not there. Not,
Exactly.
what we do know is that if you've had that semi-admission from that superior officer, then there's reason to believe there could be more. But particularly with the testimony of the survivors, even if you only take a percentage as true actual facts, in terms of how they've relayed the story. And I'm not suggesting that any of them have fabricated it. I'm on about the average person. Even if you take that into account, there's something there that's worthy. There's certainly something that's going on with the stories that have been told. These ladies have not decided just to weave this web of, abuse. Who would want to do that? These ladies barely want to even speak about it, and they're only now finding the courage to do so. So the element of actually finding something that can probably embarrass the CPS, embarrass the judicial system to recover this. No one wants to do that either. It's a question of getting justice, but these guys have, like you said, they've built a brick wall. They've kind of used every level of power in the book in order just to say, well, that's it. There's no evidence. There's no comeback either. That's got to be the most brutal thing. So in terms of money, how much do you think sufficiently you would need in order to make this happen?
Well, I don't want to go in. If I was honest, I don't want to be going into a solicitor's office or a lawyer's office and saying, can you, what would it cost for me to have a look through this? I want to be able to go in and say, just look over that and send me the bill. I don't know, £2,000-3,000 just to get somebody to read through it. Because, like I say, there's thousands upon thousands of sheets of paper. There's even DNA testing from a fetus from a girl that was raped when she was 17.
Right. So at the same time, this would, analyse the procedures used as well. So you could actually analyse whether it's all been done properly as well as what evidence is in there.
My hope is, hope among hopes, is that the fact is that they go, hang on a minute, this is wrong, that's wrong, this is wrong. Let me look into this. Somebody may turn round and say, well, actually, I'm a practicing lawyer, solicitor. I'll look at it for free. Out the goodness of the hat. Do you know what I mean? Or just donate to another charity, or give it to, because I've said if Maggie Oliver's Foundation do decide that they're going to start digging into it through their own group, which we're hoping for, like I said, the girls have got some good contacts now with Maggie. They've been working closely with her. So I'm hoping that they'll take it on a bit further. If that's the case, then we're just going to give the money to Maggie's Foundation.
Right.
So it's it's just, but we want to be able to, if they open one case and find a fault within that one case, it'll open all the other cases up.
Well, this is the idea, isn't it?
Not just in Hull. That's, yes, we are fighting for in Hull, but this goes on in every corner of the country at the moment. We all know Rochdale, Rotherham, Telford. We could go on and on and on and on. But until somebody starts getting to the point of what is it do we need to get to stop this? What is it that's causing it? What do we need to do? But people are we're still finding people going, oh, well, is it all just giving excuses? Seems to be. We're still getting backlash. I mean, you were there on the march yourself. I mean, I can't understand the counter protests we got. It just made no sense whatsoever.
Not at all, mate. Could be their daughters.
Exactly.
It's not because this is coming from a certain skin colour, a certain ideology. I mean, that in itself is the broader question. And I personally feel a lot of this is suppressed because the argument will broaden the moment you start to correlate different areas going through the same thing.
Yeah.
Then, the numbers will tell you who's the common denominator that's doing it. Why do they feel they do? You know what I mean? What is it separate from this to normal sexual abuse? Once you psychologically start breaking it down, it's going to open everything, even down to religious beliefs. And this is how crazy it is. And this is, for me, the idea is, if we don't acknowledge the scale in which, then we don't have to really talk about that round the table. Many people will say, just reform the fuck out of that book. And people start to, but this is questions that you can't answer because the bigger, broader scope of the actual abuse that is being committed now is not being acknowledged and correlated as such as a group of people. I'm quite happy to talk about a group of white men that are going to do this and going to go out and do that. I'm quite happy to talk about a group of black men that are nefarious as fuck and go and do that over there. But you're not allowing people to be able to talk about this without getting slapped. And that is ultimately just wrong for the survivors, and it's getting no justice and they've got to live with it.
I mean, exactly. I mean, when we set the group up right from day one, we keep banging on about this is nothing to do with race, colour, creed, religion, anything. This is purely for the survivors. Nothing else. We're not interested. We've been called racist. How can we be racist when we don't even mention any of the perpetrators in any which way or form? Never mentioned them once.
And I've mentioned it more there in the past 30 seconds than you have in all the conversations that we have.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're not interested in that. That's not what we're there for. We want Operation Marksman opened, and whoever it was that was the perpetrators, we want them prosecuted, irrelevant of colour, creed, nationality, religion, anything. I'm not interested in that. One little bit.
Yeah. Unfortunately, though, Ian, it is very politically based, this argument, and that's the problem. That's why I struggled with in the beginning when I was talking to survivors, and still now, to know that there are still survivors that won't, talk about it because they know how scary a climb it is to even raise the head and say that this has happened, how intimidating it is knowing that they've got to live in the area where the abuse is being committed and probably still being committed, knowing that they've still got to see people in that area as well. You know, it's easy for me, big mouth here in Manchester, sat in my living room screaming all kinds of stuff, but I'm not in that kind of environment either. So, you know, we've got to acknowledge that. And that does half the job for, unfortunately.
It is. I mean, it's like what you were saying earlier about, you know, the growth of what we've done since. I mean, in the last 6 weeks, we've gone from 4 to 5,000 followers on our group. But I'm constantly getting, since a lot of the Sky things have been rerun, I'm getting text messages and messages on Facebook, WhatsApp, Messenger about their own experiences. You know, this happened to me 20 years ago, things like that, and I never got the help then. You know, so obviously I'm inviting them to come to the group. You know, I don't know if there's anything we can do, because we're not professionals. All we're there is we'll support as much as we possibly can, and if there's any help we can give, we will give. You know,
well, you're shining a beacon, mate. On a street level, you're shining a beacon for people who have gone through what, you know, the topic that we're talking about, particularly in Hull as well. I think you got some good traction. I personally think just keep going, keep fighting the fight. It's absolutely brilliant to hear that the survivors are kind of getting on the mend and starting to flourish and grow within it. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's the main thing, like you say, before anything else. I mean, I'm so looking forward to this event. Let's talk about that briefly, and then I'd love to bring Donna in.
Yeah. So you quite foolishly decided to bike from Manchester to Hull. God help you. I'm planning on coming over to the campsite on the Saturday night for a soiree of 2. You know, just have a ride over. It's only an hour and a bit away from us, so it's not that far. So we'll have maybe a bit more than an hour, but much more. So we'll probably come over on the Saturday night. Then obviously Sunday morning, we'd already planned a tabletop in the club we use. Absolutely brilliant. The new Trinity Club on South Coast Lane in Hull. Absolutely great. They're closed tonight. The only night of the week they close is a Tuesday night. He's turned around to us and said, you can have that club on a Tuesday night, use it for whatever you want, free of charge. We'll supply the bar staff. They donate everything they make. Absolutely the best. Great club. So when we discussed it with them, we were planning a tabletop, and then obviously you decided you were doing your bike ride. So I just suggested to the admin one meeting, shall we just combine the two? Unanimous yes. Yeah, it's all planned. Tabletop from 10 till 2. The barbecue will start at 12. There is no, for the barbecue itself, I'm not planning on charging people for a hot dog or a burger or whatever. It's just to be a pot on the table, grab your centre burger, put a bit of money in the kitty. The tabletops, there's all sorts coming. You know, we've got everything from handbags up to garden ornaments. There's absolutely everything. We're doing really well there. Obviously, our own merchandise will be on sale on the day as well. And then we'll welcome you on board around 4 o'clock, you think?
Well, yeah. I've got a feeling it'll be blue lights and in the back of an ambulance, mate. But however to get there is however to get there.
Well, I'll talk to you offline, but I was gonna suggest somebody was gonna say they'll probably come and meet you and guide you in.
Right. Okay. That's fine. No problem. Probably need all the help I can get.
Well, that's what you like. You can hold on to the back of the car or something like that. Freewheel it the last few miles.
I'll just get a cardboard cutout, stick it on the bike, tie the bike to the back of I'll be in the back of the car, mate. I'm not messing about. No, honestly, I'm really looking forward to this, Ian. It sounds crazy. It does sound crazy, but I really want to put everything into it. It's a kind of a semi-personal challenge I've set for myself, but just doing it, riding for that length of time, seeing what it's like camping the next day, and knowing that I haven't got, constraints to get myself back. It is a journey within itself. And if I can marry it with beautiful causes such as yourself, and obviously we speak at Donna shortly, it's like a frigging win-win, this, you know. So I'm hoping to do more. Well, I've got before I say that, let's get
Let's
this.
see how you feel when you get to Hull.
Yeah, let's see how long it is before I can actually walk again, before I
Yeah.
actually say anything. So, but I'm absolutely buzzing that the guys could consolidate all what's going on and marry it into this, because it makes it a bigger event, more awareness, brings more people in, and it's very local based as well. So this is all for the community, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. And we've also got on the 8th of July, they've organised a ska and reggae night there, with a local, well, they're old men now. Well, I won't say old men. They're men of later years, shall we say. That's in the 70s and 80s. Well, especially the 70s, were skinheads, punks, the likes of.
Right.
So they have an annual reunion.
Right.
And this year, because one of the main organisers is a member of the group and part of the admin, and he said, "Well, why don't we do it? Why don't we combine it and we'll have it in the club and raise money for the group?" It was brilliant. So we've got raffles and we've got a local ska band that's coming along. They're going to play for us. Food on, again, all the clubs throwing it all in just
Excellent.
for us. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Who run this club, mate? Who own it?
Who owns it?
Yes.
Carl and Nicky South.
We've got to give them a big round of applause, because that's getting right behind. And imagine if more small businesses done that, mate. The lift it would give you. The lift that this is, the fact that it's like a conduit. Yeah, you can use our premises. We'll even raise money for you. We don't want much in return. Whatever, so if you could get that involved with like a local community of shops. I mean, I was saying on a stream last week, the next bike ride, I actually brought this up with Donna when she talked about a bike ride. Getting corporate money involved, getting businesses to kind of sponsor, you know what I mean, without them being scared of attaching anything to something. So it's all about trying to eloquently talk to them and break it down professionally, rather than coming across like you come kind of street activist that's just mad with the fucking world, you know what I mean? If you can break it down properly, simply, get a few small businesses. Once them small businesses are seen to be happy working, that'll encourage more people. This is the idea, but who knows, mate? You know what I mean? It's just something positive.
Exactly, yeah.
So listen, Ian, have you got any last words, mate? Because I don't
want
to keep you all night.
I think I've done my bit now. Over to Donna, really.
Cheers, mate. Nice one. I love the little guilt slap. Yeah, remember, 9-hour ride. Yeah, don't forget that.
It's all over to you, Phil.
Mate, I've just got, there'll be Facebook posts going, 9-hour ride, my ass. Look, he's at Hull train station getting off with his bike. No.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Brilliant, mate. Well, listen, thank you for the update.
Thanks,
and have a pleasant evening tonight, and no doubt we'll be in touch over the next day or so to move things forward.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot, Phil.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks, everyone. Ta-ra now. Bye.
Bye. Wow. Donna, how we doing?
Doing well. As for this escorting in thing, I'll see if I can borrow my van back for the afternoon, and I'll escort you in if you want, with flashing lights and the lot.
Oh wow!
I've got my old escort vehicle that my brother-in-law uses, so I'll ask him if I pinch it for the Saturday afternoon, and I'll escort you in.
Oh bloody hell! That'd be fantastic.
I'm coming with a tutu though.
Oh God! I knew it come with a catch. Oh my God! Why did I get on this subject with Donna Proctor? Because I knew it. You know what? We'll compromise somewhere down the line. I'm
the tutu bikes. I've done that bike ride anyway. That has to be an over-shoulder job.
In a strange place. I've got a feeling there's going to be not your flashing lights. There's going to be blue flashing lights thrown in the back of a van. What's he doing? Get him in there for his own safety. So anyway, Donna, how are you doing? Thank you for being patient. Thank you very much.
I can understand why you muted me, because I was growling a few times when he was going through the story, and I'm absolutely pissed with how the police are dealing with things. I am. It's sick. There's obviously evidence there. And like when he said about the embryo, I could have cried. No child should have to be going through what these kids are going through. And it's right what you say. It doesn't matter who the perpetrators are, right? Quit hiding it. It's not right that children have to go through what they're going through.
It's facilitating it in many ways by not
hiding it, aren't they?
There'll be a lot of shame, there'll be a lot of embarrassment, and there'll be a side of this certain religion that will have to hang their heads and be accountable just because it's happened whilst they're, you know what I mean? But the bottom line is, no one's blaming a whole religion, but you've got to be able to critique the nasty, nefarious elements within it. Otherwise, it's going to carry on.
Well, if it's a white group or it's a particular other type of group, it always ends up in the newspaper. This is my argument I have with people. It always ends up in the newspapers, and some of them, before they're even found guilty, their names and their addresses are in the newspapers. But this particular group that does it the way they do, everything's hidden. Yeah. There's already been, I think there was a court case already done a few years ago in Hull, and it was all hidden behind closed doors. No one knew about it in the news or anything.
See, when you've got that environment, what message does that give? That's not a deterrent, is it? You know what I mean? You look if any has ever come about, and if they are, they're totally, embargo on the news story or embargo on, the race and embargo. And we're all sick of that now. It's not so much that I need it to be proved that it's a certain person, but if that's a correlation, then it's a numbers game. You have to go, whoa, there does seem out of so many convictions, if the ethnicity group is a certain way, do we need to ask the question why that is for that particular crime? Just as it would be, I don't mind discussing black on black crime, abuse that may go on in the black population, and you can't be afraid of it because of the skin tone, because it's facilitating it.
Look at the Catholic Church.
Exactly. It took a while to come out because of certain stigmas and whatnot, but no one minds rinsing out the Pope and what they're doing and, and all the victims, and quite rightly so. But you're not classed as an anti-Christian or anti-Catholicist for doing that. You know what I mean? This is all about abuse. So it's people are scared, aren't they? I guess that's what it is. You can call an apple, but some people won't want to call it an apple.
With some people, it's not so much being scared, it's that whole, well, it's not happened to me attitude. But then when it has happened, it's too late, because you've got a child there that's mentally scarred for life. Why aren't they getting off their asses now and doing something? It's like, I would have been at that demo that day, but as you probably know, Ethan paid a visit that day to come and meet my brother, so I had to say sorry, I can't make it, because Ethan, and as you know, Ethan, he's like, he comes, if he was coming, he comes first. So, and I couldn't take him into that environment because he doesn't understand.
No.
Until he's too young to be in that environment. So I had to say, it was Tracy I said it to, who Ian was on about with garden ornaments. It's Tracy that deals with them. And I say, sorry, Tracy, I can't make it because Ethan's coming. But I would have been there, because I tell you what, I would have loved to have had a word with the counter-protesters. I'm a bugger when it comes to them ones.
It was the usual, Donna. People are walking down the street, quite happy to be on the street marching. These muppets just holding irrational banners up, masking themselves up wherever they could, sticking a hood up wherever they could, but then shouting all kinds of crap and just labelling people. And it had the usual effect. I actually remember going, I ain't falling for this anymore, because it used to be the case that you go over, charge over to them and get in their face and start, and I thought, no, because that's what they want. They want this.
I don't do that. I will walking over to them. I talk to them nicely to start with.
Fair play to you.
They don't like it.
Well, no, they probably don't. They expect a reaction, but it was winding up people the fact that they were there full stop. And I think, like Ian said, you can't understand that abuse is abuse. You know, if there's a correlation, then I don't mind talking about the correlation. But let's talk about the fact that if you don't talk about it, or if you're going to keep counter protesting, what do you say to the next girl that gets groomed?
Well, the first thing I'd ask them, I know a lot of them won't because obviously they're part of another type of group. But I'd be asking them, have you got kids or have you got younger brothers and sisters? And that's where I'd start my conversation.
Well, it is the human approach, isn't it? You know, when you reflect it back on yourself like that, you've got to have a conscience and think, well, Jesus, one of my kids was going through this. You know, I know Tony Bugle is working closely with Ellie Williams. And Ellie Williams' mother, Alison, I can't imagine what she must be going through, what she has gone through, knowing where Ellie is and what is what's going on with Ellie, considering what had happened. That, you know, people say allegations. Really, you don't attack yourself with a hammer. So, I mean, they're not.
Don't cut your own fingers off, neither.
Ridiculous. And it's shocking what's happened to her, the way she's been incarcerated, labelled, and, you know, court trial after court trial, labelled as a family. Even they tried to come for the mother, Alison. So, as a mother, as a parent, I can't even fathom what this would be like. Like I said to Ian, it's all right me having a big job and shouting about it, but if one of my daughters was going through it, it'd be a whole new story. So, if anything, I've got to give respect, massive respect to not only survivors, but the parents. Because they're, you know, the silent victims. But look how dignified they go about the business, even if they're not getting listened to, even if no one really looks like they give a shit, because all of a sudden what's gone on with their daughter is paradigmal, so we can't touch it. You know what I mean? Crazy. Put a wig on him and go, with a cigar in his mouth. Everyone will talk about it, but yet because it's come from what? Someone who worships Islam, or a form of Islam that even a moderate Muslim would fucking curl his toes up at. I've got to say it, you know, we can't keep dodging it anymore. You know what I mean? But I don't want to believe that point too much either, but that's a bigger, broader bleeding point.
Yeah, it's like there are a lot of Muslims that are in this country that have integrated, because I know a few myself. And one of them I get on really well with. And he was even prepared to teach me the Quran, so I understood it from his point of view and not from this extreme point of view, where these seem to be reading certain like different books with the Quran that they think that you only have to look at, is it Ali Dawah? What a prize prat he is. Do you know what I mean? And it's people like him that put the black mark on all of them.
It's a form of extremism within it all. I mean, at that time, you know, you was getting pro-black extremists as well.
Well, I'm surprised you haven't been called a white supremacist yet, to be fair. I said, I'm surprised you haven't been called a white supremacist yet.
I've been called that. I've been called a coconut. I've been called all kinds of things. To my good friends, they just call me either Styles, because that's my DJ name, or Phil. That's it. Because even if we break down this argument, we're all in agreement. Because where I'm coming from, it's not for anything negative to happen to the black population or anything negative to happen to the Muslim population, generally speaking. But fuck me, if I see anything negative of warning that's detrimental to society with any of them demographics, I've got the right to talk about it. You can't tell me not. And I'm not going against my skin colour by doing that, because I'm owning it. I'm owning the negative shit. I don't like Snoop Doggy Dogg waving his fingers round, promoting gang shit. You got black on black crime all over the place, but yet you're going to point at the white man and go, well, you systemic racism in England. Get a fucking grip. You know what I mean?
Well, they go on about minorities and stuff like that. When you actually look at the world population, we are the minority.
Well, it's fast becoming that way in this country. I mean, it's not there yet, but you look at it, And I don't want to get conspiratorial, because it's not even a conspiracy. Things that we spoke about 2-3 years ago is becoming more of a reality. And this will disenfranchise so many different groups as well. With that, I always believe that with any normal, natural integration in society, it should be a cohesive unit at the same time. We're all divided that much now that no matter who's flooding in, we're all encouraged not to bother with one another, not to really integrate, not to really speak the language and come down to the cultural society that you live in. No, it's different. And that's not a white, black, Muslim, Middle East, it's not a Chinese thing. It's just a general thing, in terms of when you look at any other foreign country that's kind of got a sense of nationalism, or at least want to try and maintain it, then there's got to be some rules to adhere to. There's got to be some accountability and justice. But at the same time, there's got to be seen before citizenship a good degree of assimilation and integration into society on many different levels. And I'm not saying it. I'm seeing more money being spent on translators, which is only encouraging people to come over, wherever they're from, and not speak this language, which then will disenfranchise the legitimate people that have grown up in this country, vast majority white, but even black here at this point, that will look and go, well, what the fuck? And that is a basic war argument that if we were to go anywhere, we would have that obligation to slowly learn the language and become that society or that culture part.
I think we can go to every areas, because like in places like Bradford, there's no go areas for white people. Well, anyone but the Muslim people. You go to certain streets, one of the drivers that I run with, he knows himself that there's certain areas of Bradford you can't actually walk through if you're one of us, right? Because you'll get beaten and you'll get thrown off, right? Quite a few years ago now, down Springbank near us, we was in one of the most of the pubs are shut now down there, but we was in a little pub on the corner, and an old veteran walked in, and he looked real flustered with himself, and was talking to him and asking what was going on, and he'd just been into a cafe. All he wanted was a cuppa, right? And he got refused service because he was white. Now, if we did that and put that no blacks allowed or no Muslims allowed, we'd have the shops shut down, we'd be arrested.
This is what hurts me, Donna. It really hurts me, because I remember that treatment in the early 70s. I do remember that. I was growing up in it. I remember the resentment when people looked at you. I remember the stereotypical ideas that people had about you, and just generally the things that they said in your company. You had to take it because you was very much a minority. I was living in a predominantly white area. Having said that, once I've grown up, I've come to see the world in a totally different light. Not one with bitterness in my heart, not one of resentment, actually opening my heart. And you know what? That element of confrontation, because it comes with an agitated kind of mind, that you would normally get if you've got resentment for, society around you. I don't have that anymore. So what I then find is what I get back is exactly what I give out. And this is what I always said. If I walk around like a big bad man and think, you know what, I'm a mixed race guy, grew up in a predominantly white area that was treated like shit in the 70s, so you know what, every white guy's to blame. Guess what's going to come back to me? Exactly the same frigging attitude with bells on it. So it's like, man, once you see it in a different light, you meet different people, different vibes, you start to see the world, evaluate the world in a different way, you know what I mean? And I encourage anyone of any kind of race like you. I've got plenty of different friends with different demographics. The best mate, I've got 3 of them actually. 2 are white, 1's a black guy. I've got plenty of Muslim friends who live down the way there. You know what I mean? It's not a question of that. I can have these conversations with them and still think, you know what? They'll agree with me. Because
my eldest daughter's boyfriend is Ethiopian, right? And he's the salt of the earth. He's an absolutely fantastic young man. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter what colour your skin is. If you're an arsehole, you're an arsehole. It's as simple as. It doesn't matter what colour your skin is.
Content of character. And that will always, people warm to someone who has got decency, consideration, and goes about the business with consideration for other people. It's like, how can you not? If you don't, then you are the wrong one, because I don't see anything that he's doing there that's wrong, no matter who, white, black, or whatever. So going back to what you're saying about how it is in certain areas being white, that saddens me, because that is a flip on how it was then. So I would say to any black guy that has got an ear on what it was like in the 70s, maybe any Muslim that's got an ear on what it was like in the 70s, listen to that, because you wouldn't have liked to have been treated like that, ostracized like that. So it's not a question of the shoe is on the other foot. It's supposed to be higher, more intellectual beings now than we've ever fucking been in society. And it's like, when do two wrongs make a right? Seriously? But if the media are saying it's all right for them to do it, you know what I mean? If the far left agenda is all up for them creating a race war, it's a question of all the sides have got to realise that and know that they're all being played. Because before you know it, there's going to give somewhere, isn't there? You know what I mean? And no that.
I had a conversation. I go onto Discord and I talk to. There's a lot of truck drivers, but I talk to a lot of people on Discord. And we actually had a similar conversation earlier where we was on about there's a certain other group, like, and it's not everyone, because technically I'm under this label because I'm bi. I've always told people I'm bi. I don't want no medals for it. I didn't come out and expect all roses and all to be like worshipped on because I've come out as like, but it's the LGBTQ group. And a lot of them are your left wing uni students that think that everyone should have the right to come into this country. But at the same time, they don't actually read between the lines of what these extremists that are doing what they're doing to the kids, right? They don't read what they do to people that are gay and them type of people, but they still support them. And you think, are you really that daft? You can't read between the lines, because they don't seem to realise that if something happened where they did manage to, say, take over part of the country, anyone that's LGBTQ are going to be the first ones that are either stoned to death, thrown off a building, knifed, gunned, whatever, however they want to get rid of them. But these are the same people. These aren't the people that represent me, because I don't need no big medal and no big street party to tell people. It's got nothing to do. If you want to live as trans, bi, gay, whatever, live that. But why do you need to have this big crown on your head because you've come out and you're so brave? No, just live your life and get on with it. But at the same time, you're supporting the people that are doing this to the kids. But then you look at it on the other level, where you've got trans people going into schools, twerking and dancing for young children. You've got rules coming into schools in Wales where they're going to be teaching children as young as 3 and 4 how to masturbate. Sorry, I'm just like... It's all part of the same agenda where children are going to be the ones that suffer. And I'm sorry, on my watch, I don't want to see it. And to be fair, if I ever saw anyone harm a child, I'd probably go to jail for a long time, because I'd go at them. But it's the stupidity of people, right, in these particular groups that don't actually seem to get it into line to realise that that in a way, they are all the perpetrators. These are the dancing, wiggling the bits around in the street in front of kids at bloody Pride Parade, and these are actually abusing them the way they are. This is why we've got Unite for Hull, right? They're all abusers at the end of the day. They are all abusing our children, physically and mentally, between a lot of them, and it needs to stop. And we need some people with bollocks in the bloody building in London actually doing the job, and we need the police to sort it out instead of us all having to do what we're doing now.
Well, I think you're right, Donna. I think the lack of bollocks in this argument is definitely detrimental in more ways than one. But no, I think you're right. I always flip it. I flip it 180 with arguments like this. You've got a nucleus family, right? The dad, he has a son at 3 years of age, decides to teach his son how to masturbate, right? His son then goes into the nursery. The the next day. Starts telling all the kids, look what my dad taught me to do, look what my dad, so it's irrefutable that you found this out from your father. How would you react?
Social services would be knocking on the door and removing that child straight away.
You know? So when you look at it like that, how can you be called transphobe or whatever phobe they want to make up? Because you're only using your moral compass, because that's a moral compass, isn't it? I think even the average normal individual knows that when it comes to sexuality, you keep it away from children. And I would go further.
Children.
You know, music and film. You know, I've still got Mary Whitehouse ringing in my ear from when I was a kid. Not many people will know who she was, but man, she was hardcore. But you've got to have a little bit of leeway. But without your Mary Whitehouses, look what's happening. And honestly, a lot of people might not know who she is, but if you do, you'll know exactly what I mean. She used to critique TV shows in the 70s and probably doing it even earlier, but she would always be there, but she was seen as a moaner. So any TV show that just come out, she'd be there saying, you know, this is going against family values, this, that, and everyone's like, come on, Mary. You know, everyone kind of not got sick of it, but what her ethics, what her moral compass, man, we need to bring it back because TV's gone rife, music's gone rife. The normal language that's expected in normal tunes now, you know what I mean? Like, my own daughter's like, I can't believe it. So to me, all this leads to like masturbation, you know, all the whatever sexuality, all that element of confusion that is thrust upon little kids at an early age. What's that going to do to him? Yes, Babs. So yeah, it's crazy. It's just crazy, Donna. Listen.
It is, yeah. It's absolutely mental. Like, when you look at it, even down to the schools, if the schools are doing that, they're abusing the children because they're not letting them be children. You've got all this with the LGBTQ wanting the drag queens and stuff to go in and read them stories and dance. Why are parents taking them to do things like that? I've seen some of the videos where there's drag queens twerking in children's faces. Why are parents allowing that? Why are they allowing it? And then you've got because it's like two different scale. Well, you've got like a scale. You've got the schools. Well, I don't know whether the schools or the bloody the LGBTQ shit actually goes at that end, but you've got a scale where you've got the most serious, which is going on in a lot of places up and down the UK at the minute, which we was talking about before, right? Then you're talking about all this going on with the LGBTQ community, and I'm not saying it's all of them, but again, they're making a black mark on it. And then you've got the education side of things, and between all three of them, they are seriously. This is why mental health is going up in children, because you've got children at 3 years old saying, "Oh, I want to be a girl," because the parents are putting it into their head that, "Oh no, I wanted a girl, so you're going to be a girl." Do you know what are you doing? Puberty blockers? No.
I think Kenneth has got it right there. Education on different levels, but you know, two things. Firstly, let me turn this light on. Sorry, Donna.
Sorry.
Let me just go run and get. All right, sorry.
Should we sing a song while he's gone, guys? I don't know what to do. I'll just sit here and twiddle my fingers.
Being professional, like, and it just legging it off like that.
Oh, who's going to sing a song or something?
No, I just think education, going back to what Kenneth says, is no matter what, we hand our kids over to institutions believing that they're going to educate them in the right way. And in many ways they do. In many ways, they're slipping in so much toxicity, it's unbelievable. So what's more reliant now is, rather than us kind of relinquishing our own powers, like Kenneth says, it's going back to basics. So it goes back to your ethics, your mindset, and just instilling the right things into your child in the hope that when they are confronted, they can see things balanced. They're not intolerant of anything, but at least they're getting the fuller picture rather than the crazy kind of far left, if we're going to go paradigmal kind of way of looking at it. That, you know, because the other way of doing that, I guess, is if they do adopt the more far left, you're going to get families that are not going to get on. So if you've got a family that's got morals and ethics and you know, a moral compass going on, and then you've got these little kids running around like little radicals saying fuck capitalism and all this kind of stuff, it's going to create a little bit of a rub off somewhere down the line. So you know, I guess you just kind of back engineering the kids a little bit. I always found that when me first Mia was in school, she was coming home and telling stories of the things that she'd learned, and I'm having to not red pillar, but say, well, you do actually know that this was to do with that event and that, you know, and it's like, just evaluate them a little bit, because crazy, absolutely crazy. I mean, let's get on to Ethan's journey to discovery, because it's a massive, massive thing that anyone to go through, never mind such a young boy. Now, if you could, Donna, if you could break down exactly what had happened to Ethan and pretty much the situation that we're at now, if you could.
Well, it'll be a year ago today. He was actually diagnosed with Burkitt's leukemia, and it was a rare form. It made him so ill he couldn't walk. But even though the family was going through what they was going through when they was having to go through all the treatment and everything with him, they decided that they was going to build, because the government again decided that they was going to drag the reels in. It took them about 6 months to get any help when they've got a mortgage to pay for, bills to pay for, everything else. They had an house to run. So even though Ethan was going, he was very fragile, he was very poorly, and he was, the little fight had come through in the end, you know what I mean? He's gone into remission, but they built a charity to help other families out, which is something that they would never earn a wage out of. They just wanted something that where they could help other families, where if the child was going through what Ethan was going through, the parents didn't have to worry about where the money for they didn't have to go out and work, and they could spend the time with the child while they was healing, instead of having to, you know, so they could give them money to pay for the mortgage, pay for, you know, there's a bit of an issue with it at the minute, but that's what they've done. It's there, it's ready to go. They're still waiting for a number, because the government aren't going to make any money off that particular charity. This is why they're dragging the feet in, and I'm going to say that openly because I can. But yeah, he's in remission, and I tell you what, he's stronger than most grown adults, to be fair. And even I've only ever seen him throw one paddy, and that was when he was really, really, really ill. Do you know what I mean? He's always had a smile on his face. Even through his hardest times, he still smiled and he still had a thumbs up. And do you know what I mean? And the family have been, they must be the strongest family I've ever come across. And it's an honour to be part of that family. We've been to his birthday party, and like I said, with the charity, there's a problem at the minute with the numbers. We've had a chat about this, haven't we, with the numbers and stuff.
It must be disappointing for the family there, Donna, because they just want to get things going, don't they? And kind of, you know, get this up and running, start helping people.
What the problem is because those that organise all the charities and stuff have got a problem with the fact that they want to give big sums of money to families. That's what the problem is. But that's what the money raised will be for, to help them families that are going through what they went through. Not for anything else, not for private jets or savings in a bank like some of the big charities. This is purposely, they don't want any money out of it. Every bit of money raised will be going into that charity to help other families that have been through what they've been through. So
you can't understand why they would have to interfere with how the money's being distributed. I mean,
Well,
if
it's
the funds are being used inappropriately, that will get found out with the first audit, and then all of a sudden you haven't got your charity status anymore unless you kind of comply with a certain set of rules.
exactly.
But why is there an issue with how much is given to a particular family, or if that family might need that?
Well, exactly like you said, everything's going to be transparent. And I tell you what, right? If you want an honest family, the Adams are an honest family, right? They're doing it through the good of their heart because they've been there, they've seen their own. It's something no adult should ever have to go through. And I know myself, looking at what my mum's been through with Damien, no mum or dad should have to see a child that ill that they don't think they're going to make tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? But then you've got this charity status where when you set a charity up, there's like certain ways of doing it. And because the government would have to pay this particular charity because they're not taking any money out of it for themselves as a wage, right? The government don't like it. So they don't like the fact that they're going to be giving chunks to help other families. But then if the government was there in the first place for the families that are suffering, then there wouldn't need to be these type of charities. And that is the problem, because the government would have to pay them instead of them having to pay the government. They've dug their heels in, and they're looking at beginning of next year now before the number comes through.
So in the meantime, no one gets any help then.
No, well, what they're doing, because obviously they've already got the bike ride's been put on hold, which we'll still be doing as soon as the charity number's there, which will be from John O'Groats to Land's End. I'm driving, I'm not going on no bike. I'm just going to be there to record all the fun as they're falling off and doing whatever.
Donna, you can't throw that disclaimer out, Donna. You want me, like, Jesus.
You're a bike rider. Have you seen me on a bike? I need stabilisers, mate.
Well, we can get that arranged. That's not a problem. I'll get you a freaking tricycle if you want. I don't give a shit.
I'll be in the van with the flashy lights to make sure if you need a bandage, you've got a bandage by and getting on a bike. Especially if we're starting in bloody John O'Groats, because the first place I'm going to end up is off one of the end of the cliffs, and it'll be purely by accident. I cannot, honestly. Next time you talk to Dave, ask Dave what I'm like on a bike. I need stabilisers and probably 2 sets of them, to be fair.
I don't know. I feel like I've got the rough end of the stick. You know what I mean? I've got the mankini and you've got the flashing lights. What's going on there?
Now, that would be interesting to see how much attention that gets. But, yeah. We have got, there is a truck show in September, which there was hoping all the money was going to go to Ethan's charity. But until they've got this number, there is nothing they can do. Their hands are tied. But instead, it's going to, I believe it's Ward 18 of Birmingham Children's Hospital, which are the people that treat Ethan and obviously treat a lot of children with cancer, various different types of cancer. Money to them.
Donna, if I was to set up a GoFundMe for Ward 18 at this hospital, that'd be all right, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, like I said, I'd already done my own work to see if there was, you know, because when I was helping a certain charity out, I knew that you could go on to, I can't remember whether it was Just Giving or GoFundMe that this particular one was on, but you could actually start a separate fundraising page that linked directly to that page. So the money would go into that, but they don't seem to have anything on GoFundMe or Just Giving that you can link to. So it would be a separate thing that the money would go to them at the end, you know, on your own GoFundMe page. But it's Ward 18 of the Birmingham Children's Hospital.
Right. I shall set it up tomorrow. I'm going to take this down anyway, and we'll not take it off here, but take a copy of this stream, put it up, put it on Facebook, differentiate the two. So there's going to be a segment with Ian, a segment with yourself, you know what I mean? Just try and kind of get both GoFundMes going together and then just push forward till the 24th on that. So, when's the next time you're going to see Ethan then?
Hopefully pretty soon, because like I said, we've got to sort this out with Pups Palace. She's very kindly said we can go and visit the lambs and the donkeys and stuff, and she's actually going to spend time with Ethan herself. She's going to try and get a tractor from one of the farmers next door. She's actually on Facebook. If you put in my or the one of the two, Pup Palace. She's an absolutely crazy lady. That's why I think I'm going to get on real well with her. But she does like short videos with the animals. She's got very bright language, the same as us. She's just there, do you know what I mean? But she's prepared to take time out of her own. This was just through a message that I sent her because I thought Ethan would love it there. So I sent her a message and we got chatting, and she's going to actually spend the time with Ethan instead of working in the background. So you think to spend time with her, and she's going to like sort out for a tractor to come so we can have a tractor ride. And she actually wants to get involved in the charity as well. So she's joined the group. And like I said, absolutely lovely woman. She works the bloody arse off, to be fair, and it was nice of her to say. She just said that donate to the feed and stuff, and I ain't got a problem with that. I said to her, I said, I'll pay whatever to get him there. So we've got to sort that. So hopefully pretty soon, because I want to go play with the lambs. To keep the sticks out, I want to play.
Yeah, well, there's a joke there somewhere, Donna, but I'm not going to do it, right? Because I'm getting wrong in it. But what is really kind of touching there, I'm speaking to yourself that's obviously got more of an insight with Ethan's journey to recovery, and you're talking about whether it's a local business but a local farm that is prepared to help and support Ethan's journey to recovery any way they can. And you can tell by what they're doing there. I'm talking with Ian before, as you hear, the day has been set out for this club to organise like a tabletop day and barbecue and all that kind of stuff.
It's brilliant what they've done.
I'm just on both levels. It's really encouraging that you're getting good support from local people that are just really nice. That it's only small help, but it's massive at the same time. You know what I mean?
The smallest of things can mean the most to people. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter. Like I said, we spoke about it before, even a smile can change someone's day to the difference between whether they're wanting to jump off a bridge or actually carry on. Yeah. And that's just a smile. So whatever anyone puts into anything, it's we're helping. And it's like it says in that badge, children matter news. And yeah, two totally different things, but it's still kids. And that is our main aim, is to keep the children, try and keep them safe and happy.
Everything we spoke about tonight that we've brought up in conversations affects children one way or the other. Some more directly than others, but predominantly anyway, with the society the way it's going. If that's not a reason to say children's matter.news or, you know, this topic, that topic, it's all relevant, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, listen, where are you going tonight? What's the plan now? Have you got to go to base? Are you going back home? Or?
Well, I actually sent you a video because we're parked at Carnaby because you can't load after 4:30 at Carnaby, and we didn't quite get back in time. I sent you a little video.
Right.
I put on YouTube because we had fun. Can't even go to Morrison's these days. You know what I mean? It's like, but yeah, big Brutus bloody security guard giving it big licks there, and he ended up on the video, and I told him he was going all over YouTube for the privilege. So, but yeah, I have sent you the link to that one.
Oh, geez.
One of my drivers. Don't be doing that. No.
What? So you've gone to a supermarket and the security guard's got all his ego puffed up?
Oh, definitely got. What it was is Carl got a razor and he put it in my bag because he bought a razor and he couldn't buy a carrier bag with it. Do you know what I mean? To put the rest of his shopping in, so he put it in the top of my. And as we went through the beepy bits at the end, it went off. This big Brutus decided that he was going to come up, and I'd already got the razor out of the bag and give it to Carl. And Carl went to hand him the bloody receipt, and he's ragged it, literally, physically, like dragged it, moved Carl. Do you know what I mean? Because of the way he grabbed everything. So straight away, my camera's gone on because I thought, nah, you're not allowed to do this to customers. So I'm like, where's your number, mate? I want your number. And he actually pushed, you could see his hand go towards my phone, pushed me away. So it just ended up where I was walking around the supermarket after him, telling him. But the other staff at Morrison's were absolutely brilliant. They come out, sorted it out, said that they're going to look back at that because I'd shown them the video of where he pushed me. Says after he'd been the way he was, and they're going to look at the video, but they're subcontractors. They're not actually part of Morrison's. So the guy will be looking for another job tomorrow anyway. So you don't need people like that where there's old people and children.
Course.
Because what if that was an old guy that he'd bought it and he was walking out all frail, and he went to and the guys grabbed him and knocked him on his ass and broke a hip or something? Do you know what I mean? And I'm thinking, you horrible bastard.
There's a way of dealing with things. I mean, let's partition what had actually gone on. It's over the razor, you know.
It was a £20 razor, but it was still.
Here that would govern someone like, you know, jumping out the way he did. It's a razor that can be kind of sorted out pretty. And then even then.
But when he's gone to hand the receipt of it and he's reacted the way he has, there was no need.
No, totally. And this is where training comes into it, and attitude as well. Although you can have training as a security guard, if you're actually a bit of a dick, then that training.
Dick.
You know what I mean? Because really, all that training has come to nothing when that person has got in a confrontation. So what the training should be is, we've got to see what you're like when you're in a stressful situation, because we've got to know whether you're going to either help someone or spark them. Because, you know, just because you're big and beefy, that aesthetically looks good. But we don't need you to be manhandling customers when it can be dealt with so easily.
The right thing to have done in that situation would have took the receipt off Carl. The fact that when he actually took it all and he's looking on the receipt, it actually took him about 2 or 3 minutes. He actually had to hand the receipt to someone else to find the razor, and it's right at the top of the receipt. So I don't know what his problem was. But the right thing in that situation to do would have to take because he was quite happy to hand the receipt of her and look at the receipt. Instead, he went into full-blown Brutus mode, and that don't wear with me. I don't do bullies, because I could picture Carl as an old frail guy, and him doing what he did to that old frail guy falling and breaking a hip or a bone. Do you know what I mean? And I just think that would have been totally. Yeah.
And you can't then say you know, just doing my job, because you know that ain't gonna wash. You know, no one expects that of you in that job. Like I say, even with half a dozen kids around you can't be doing anything like that.
Well, that's like me doing my job and just running someone over because they've walked in front of me. Do you know what I mean? It don't work like that.
I know. So how long have you got to drive now before you get to your destination?
We're packed up for the night.
Oh, is that you done now? Literally, right. So explain where you parked up then. Is it like a truck stop?
No, it's not, because we're actually, hang on 2 seconds, let me just unplug you. Because some of the places, there's plenty of parking outside. We did try getting here before the gates shut, but the gates were shut. But we're actually outside our next loading place because we're off to Devon Bay tomorrow. So this is one of the caravan places that we actually pick up from.
Right.
So we'll be able to get in about 7:30 in the morning to load. And then we're on our way down to Devon Bay, not Devon Bay, Newquay Bay. That's where we're going tomorrow.
Oh, man.
So, long journey.
You get about, don't you? You don't have to get to see some gorgeous places.
Well, we've already been to Scotland this week. So, we've come down from Scotland. So,
right then, what would you be doing on a normal night when you're staying overnight doing what you're particularly doing now? What type of night? Is it just a chill, read a book, get your head down, or...
Well, if we'd known it was going to be, because it was a bit cold and rainy in Scotland, and it was quite cold all the way down here. It was only actually when we parked up that it started getting warm. So, but if we'd known it was going to be warm, we wouldn't have stuffed our faces at the truck stop, and we probably would have had the barbecue out with a couple of beers. Sometimes we just chill on our beds and go through YouTube or whatever, or clean our vehicles. Mine needs a good clean, but he keeps breaking down, so I can't be arsed with him.
With him? Why does it have to be a guy?
It's called Groot. LC's a girl. I name all my vehicles. I'm a bit sad that way. I've got Lily Lilac, which is a Ford Probe as well. So I name all my vehicle, and our Transit that's being done into a camper. That one's called Gizmo.
Right.
Because it had a dangling in the works when we first got it, so I called it Gizmo.
Is it all right now then, or what?
Yeah, it runs fine. She's the beast of the group. She's like got 400,000 miles on the clock, and she's just gone through another MOT. Yeah, I've got this one that's done 130,000 miles on a 20 plate, and I want to put it over a cliff. So,
I'm just going back to a comment here by Robin Hood. Security guys were bullying ill people in a hospital, stopping them lying down.
They shouldn't be allowed to. They're not physically, unless it's to help someone's life, or if there's an altercation going on where two people are fighting, they are not allowed to physically touch you.
No. They're overreaching with the powers, but we could say that about some elements of the police. You know, they use that badge in such a malicious way in many times. You know what I mean? And it's unfortunate that there'll be an element of the personality with the security guard, but an element where they might feel that they can get away with it with that person, but I won't do it with that. You know what I mean? So there's an element of cowardice as well, picking on the average
It's
person.
annoying as well, because that security guard, when you look at the video, because I've sent you the video in message, the link to the video, he actually knows what he's done wrong, because as soon as he sees that camera go on, he turns away and he's trying to get away from it, and he will not face the camera because he knows what he did was wrong.
There you go. You know, it's crazy, isn't it? You know, has he not got a body cam on? I guess they don't do it.
They said he has got one on, so it should capture what's happened. But they've got plenty of cameras around the doorways, so I just said to him, good luck in finding another job.
And it's a shame, isn't it? You know, but the bottom line is you can't be treating people like that. You know,
No.
warning, whether he now has to reevaluate his life and look for something else. It's a lesson, you know, because that's wrong. When you're dealing with the public, you just can't.
Exactly.
So Jesus, sorry you have to go through all that.
It's just another day to us. We deal with a lot of arseholes every day, even just driving. In this job I have, for some reason, people think that it's funny to get as close as they can to me or to the vans, not realising they're putting themselves in danger. We're there as a safety feature. I've had them run at me, actually down the middle of the road in front of me, trying to ram me off the road. So it's just an everyday occurrence in this job. But I still love my job, and it won't stop me doing it to my full potential. Because at the end of the day, I'm there as health and safety. Well, I'm there as a pilot driver. I'm also there for safety for other people. And if they want to play silly games, I'm not paid to move out of their way. I'm paid to protect. That's another one turning up for a van in the morning. But I'm paid to protect the public, the load, and the drivers. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I'll carry on doing.
I know.
So,
you see it all the time on roads, you know, different people doing stupid things. It's like I don't know, I wouldn't say zombie apocalypse, but there's a...
I would.
Well, I'm starting to see it more and more, Donna. You know, more irrational behaviour from people when look at the life that we're all living. You know, does that guy need to be spoke to in that way? Does that make your life any better now? Does that guy need to be cut up like that? Is that going to improve your life? We're all, you know, it's crazy how people don't want to help and be nice to people, knowing that we're all going through the same shit. But that's assuming that people think like you and I, Donna. Not everyone does. Some are selfish fuckers and they just think for themselves. And
thing is, though, there is too many selfish fuckers out there. That's the problem. It's like they don't realise that when they're just trying to get that one car in front or that one truck in front, and they come up the moat and they go straight across in front. Now there's a lot of trucks now that have got a thing called assisted braking, and that could quite easily jackknife that truck because you've just flown in front of them.
yeah.
Or if you've gone like that close that the assisted braking hasn't picked you up, you're going to get to at it. And you're not only putting your own life at danger doing that, you're putting other people. And what happens if there's a car with a family or a school bus full of school kids? And then the first thing that happens when it goes up in the newspaper is, oh, fucking truck drivers. No, it's not. 99% of the time, it's a car driver that's being a dickhead. It's not the truck drivers. We have got the odd one or two. Well, we've got a few truck drivers. The same as in anything. You've got good and bad in anything. And you have got arseholes of truck drivers that shouldn't be in trucks. But when you see these accidents, 9 out of 10 times it's a car that's caused it, not the truck. Because they've wanted to either be that one car in front or they've wanted to go in front of a truck that's had assisted braking. Or it's not. There was one recently that got crushed, proper crushed in between two HGVs.
And that's how life is so short at times. We only get one life, and I think of all the crap that people put themselves through in inconsiderate behaviour, which can lead to fatalities like that. I think to myself, all I want to do is just get home, sit with a wife and chill in the house. And when I'm there, I'm in my base, you know, you feel kind of safe. At the moment, being out when you've got dickheads like that are running all over the place, as well as illegal stuff flying in and out and wheelers all over the place. It's like, you're forgetting how cheap life could actually be. One set of traffic lights, you're done. You could have took a out with you.
One of the most dangerous moves I see is when they try and undertake a truck. And if I'm actually escorting at the time on a motorway, I have to be behind. Dual carriageway motorways, I'm behind. If I see someone attempt to undertake the trucks, because I've seen it before where they've gone up the inside and gone between the trucks to come out to overtake, to get in, and they're either going to wipe themselves out with the car they're trying to beat at this side, or if the truck needs to move back over, they're going to get themselves wiped over that way. So if I see one even trying it now, I'll move across to stop them undertaking. I get called an arsehole and a wanker for it, but that's my job, is to keep people safe, and I'm not having you going up the side of the trucks. It's that simple.
Yeah, definitely. Responsible driving.
Yeah. And when you see them when they've got kids in the car doing it, right, that's just, I start steaming at the ears.
I know, and it's like that car's just going to protect them, and they just seem to. The health and safety goes out the window. I see kids with no belts on, you know, doing all kinds of things in the back, dogs running around on the back shelf and things. But this ain't your living room. You know what I mean? If anything goes wrong there, you know, just crazy.
It's not Mario Kart, and you're not sat in a simulation seat. You're sat in a proper thing with a lot of tonnage of vehicles around you. And sometimes your kids in the back and you're driving like that. There should be tougher laws when it comes to driving in this country. I could go on about it, but we'd be here another hour and a half, so we'll have that conversation on a different one. But there are certain things you could put in place that have make the roads a safer place. But again, it's all down to the government getting money for parts or money for tax and money for this, that, and other, and they know that things like speeding is easy money instead of actually going out and doing some frigging work. Do you know what I mean? So,
plenty of issues when it comes to cars, roadways, you know, blocking of it, obstructing of it, and you know, man, like
I've always said, if I ever got the chance to be transport minister, the first thing I would do is turn all motorways back into normal motorways, get rid of these bloody smart motorways, because they're not smart. Too many people are dying on them. And the second thing would be roundabouts to be clear. They say that you're not allowed to obstruct things, but there's a lot of accidents on roundabouts because they're full of trees. Because you can't see what's coming off the roundabout in front of you because it's blocked with the trees. So roundabouts need to be clear. And that would be the first two things I'd do, is I'd get rid of these smart motorways and I'd get clear every single roundabout so people can see what's coming instead of guessworking it.
I'd stick everyone on a bike, personally, Donna.
You're just trying to get them onto sites on bikes. Come on, mate.
I know, but I'm a bit of an idealist, really, and I think take off the Sainsbury's trucker delivering tons of produce, get him on a fucking bike, get him on a tricycle with a little box in the front, and he can deliver just local goods to his local.
Well, it'd bring him plenty of work, wouldn't it? Because we'd all have to work to go get our food.
Well, it gets everyone up and about, doesn't it?
It'd stop another problem as well, obesity. So you might have a point there.
Right. I tell you, I've just put a thing on before, like on my little app. I recorded me journey coming back. I lost 1,000 calories. And it actually said, I don't know how it worked this out, but I saved 2,200 on the emissions. So I felt good, and the fact that I wasn't polluting anything, you know, that is a better thing. But it's just nice to know just general fitness, just for doing.
You have got, like, with the polluting, it's like, yeah, it's nice to know that you've got something that's saying me that we've got a transit of bloody 14 plate Renault and I can't even remember NREG bloody Ford Probe, so I can't really say about that, but it's all right saying, oh, we're doing this for the environment and that for the environment. It's like with a lot of trucks now, they've got the AdBlue, which is a problem on its own, but they're like Euro 6, which hardly give out any emissions, do you know what I mean? But then you again, it's double standards, because then you've got all these big meets with like the elite, and they're turning up on private jets. helicopters, SUVs, and then trying to preach to us about helping the environment. Well, hang on a minute. Why don't you turn up on a bike or instead of your private jet and your SUV? Do you know what I mean? So it's just another one of them things where it's just so hypocritical because it's already been debunked about, yeah, the Earth's warming, but nowhere near as fast as what they're trying to say it is. And now they're trying to bring it into schools, aren't they, that kids need to eat bugs for protein. I don't really think so. Because it'll help the environment. I don't know whether you've seen that one, but yeah, they're bringing it into school, certain schools for the bugs.
You know, when I hear stories like that now, I should be shocked, shouldn't I? But it's like nothing really surprises me now.
It doesn't faze you anymore, does it?
No, it's like,
No.
yeah, a book is, you know, adequate diet for any young kid wanting to grow up in society. I can see how that's going to really nutritionally fucking help them, you know? It's like, what?
When I was a kid, and when I was bringing my own kids up, I was old-fashioned. It was still a Sunday dinner and a cooked meal and fresh home-cooked stuff. Not fucking McDonald's and the local takeaways. This is what the problem is. And as well as bringing in things like Sunday dinners and stuff again, right? Not only is it good for the kids, but it's bringing that family unity together again instead of them all being on the phones. And you know, there's none of that anymore with a family. They're either on the phones and eating McDonald's in the bedrooms, or it's like, this is what I liked about the Jubilee. Yeah, I'm not a royalist, I never have been. And everyone to their own, if they like the Queen or not, right? How I saw the Jubilee was it was community. It was bringing communities back together and they were spending good time together. And I tell you what, it'd be nice to see more of that. And it shouldn't have to just be because there's a Jubilee. Bring this back with the communities. Start knitting the communities back together. You'll find that things will get a lot better. But
Totally. Cohesion with society. I'm like you, I'm not a monarchist by any means, really. You know, particularly not them lot. They've not served the people at all. But that's my personal view. Anyone
support
fair play to you if that's what you want to do. I personally don't see a point in their existence. And particularly with the affluence that they live in, it's a fucking piss take when we're looking at how we're struggling. The amount that celebration must have cost, not only for the actual event, but all the TV and the media, the way it's been pushed. And in many ways, it's been used as a marketing gimmick for people to spend more money doing other things. So it's like, in a good way, it's brought the old element of which I remember of 1977, the Silver Jubilee. I do remember that because I went to my sister's street party. Good old-fashioned terrace street, looking like Coronation Street, banners everywhere, cobble streets, long table. Everyone brought their own dining room table, and it was just the whole street. All the kids were out, so it's nice to know that that has been embraced from it. You know what I mean?
It's the street parties up and down the country. Do you know what I mean? It was bringing communities together. It's something we've not seen in such a long time because of the way everything is. There doesn't seem to be any such thing as communities anymore, and it actually put the expense to one side. It was the whole community thing with the street parties and stuff. And I was looking at like posts on Facebook, and I'm thinking, I never once saw it as a Jubilee. I was like grateful to see people in communities being nice to each other for a change instead of being the arseholes that they've been with each other all year round. You know what I mean? They'd actually put the shit to one side for one day and there was getting, and we need to do more of that. We need to bring things like the Sunday dinner back in for families and sit round with your kids and ban mobile phones for a few hours or ban the computer for a few hours and go, come on, we're going to do family time, community time. You know what I mean? It's not hard to fucking spend a little bit of time with other people.
What it shows, though, Donna, doesn't it? It shows how contaminated any family unit is now with external forces. Because external forces govern your kids, as in what they watch on TV, what they watch on the mobile phone, the social media. This is a great point that Jackie Chan. We've got Jackie Chan in the house. Yes.
You might get in trouble for that. There's only Dave allowed to call her that.
Shit, am I going to get my ass kicked? With the Jubilee, every household could have been given 38 grand money, they spent on it. Now, I can't verify that. I'm sure Jackie has kind of verified it somewhere down the line, but the money that was spent is astronomical. And in the biggest crisis that we've had since at least 2008, that was the crash, but I don't even remember things being that bad on a financial level and the poverty level dropping rapidly the way it is now. And the jobs that went over COVID that are never returning, it's more corporate now. Everything's changed. The Great Reset. So in terms of prosperity, rather than pay for one monarchist to go running round and live in this affluence, and did you hear about the fucking hologram in the car, the gold carriage?
Yeah.
I'm like, are you suckers or what? Are you suckers? So she doesn't even have to be there now. You can just stick a hologram in it. And I don't know what the reception was because I only seen one view of the car. But please don't tell me people were waving and fucking...
People was waving at it, yeah.
It's like... Are they not training people at this point that you're a sucker and we can do what we want and you'll still love it? Is that not that's what I read from it?
All I'm going to say, right, because I don't know if you've actually heard about the next thing that I'm going to mention, but all I'm going to say is I believe that with the hologram was actually a practice run, see how people would react, and obviously they've waved because we've got a little known thing called Operation Bluebeam to be watching out for soon.
Well, it's a technology that has been shown to have been used in many cases. I've seen it, the holograms. Man, I've been sat in a basketball court, and then all of a sudden a great freaking killer whale just comes in and swoops and like it's diving in. I'm like, what the hell?
You imagine that but a shitload of spaceships with aliens in all over the sky attacking people.
It's certainly, whether that is going to happen or not, alien and...
Do you know what? It wouldn't surprise me. It really wouldn't.
No, I know. I certainly am not going to take it off the table.
No.
By any means. One thing I definitely will say, that with the use of holograms, they can get away with a lot. They can manipulate a hell of a lot of people. And in this case, there was no manipulation because they told you it was a goddamn hologram. And you're still going to stand there waving to it. So what does that tell you about a public? It tells you that, you know what, look at COVID. Never let a good crisis go to waste. And look how they're still running around with masks on, stuff at bus stops on their own.
There was a car went past me earlier. It was a little Nissan Leaf. Was it Leaf? Oh, I'm not sure. It was only a little Nissan. And I ended up I was like, what the... And there was 3 people in it, 2 in the front, 1 in the back. They had the masks on, apart from the guy in the back, and then they actually had like a clear plastic sheet fastened all the way around the back of the front seats. And I'm thinking, what? I can't blame them. I really can't blame them. It's what the government have programmed into people, what the media's programmed into people, and they've scared so many people. And they weren't exactly young, and I'm thinking, you poor bastards are living the rest of your life in fear, and you should be living it.
That is unfair. But there's a susceptibility that I do blame them for. As grown adults,
enough to take it all in.
You should not be acting that way. You should not be fearing what an outside influence has put into you to the point where you're going to do that. I think that every adult's got to be accountable for themselves for being like that. But I do agree with you. They've been coerced, they've been manipulated, they've been traumatized. And we've got thick enough skin. We question a lot of shit anyway. So a lot of this was like water off a duck's back. You know what I mean? We've seen a lot of horrible stuff with marching going on. The fear of arrest, the fear of people not being able to make it from point A to B because you couldn't go out anywhere. That was a fearful climate. We've been through all that and kind of gone strong. I look at these people now and I can't help but think weak people. I don't want to kind of use that as a negative, but I've got to say it what it is. That I'm glad my kids are not like you. I'm glad that I've got the strength to actually go, kids, don't put that mask on. Think about what you do. Think about externally what you're actually sending a signal out wearing that.
Well, just it's only today, I believe it's happened, but apparently monkeypox has gone up a scale. So they're actually advising people to wear masks. Now, monkeypox, when you look into it, is through close contact. It's not to do with masks. So why are they saying wear masks? Why are they doing this? Monkeypox, when you actually look into it, most people actually survive it, right? But again, it's one of them things where you're asking questions on how the hell it got into this country in the first place, because it's something that was abroad. So is it one of the dinghy divers, right, that have brought it across, and that's why it's now in this country? Or have we now got another situation with another lab that's released something? Because they want the WHO to take over the like a one world government, don't they? So they can lock you down like that when they want. And people again are going to sit there and allow it to happen. We can't allow it to happen because you'll spend most of your time locked down. But again, they're wanting you to wear masks for the monkeypox.
Well,
why? It's all part of control. It's nothing to do with the actual disease. It's to do with control.
I read one article on it, to be fair, so I can't say I'm well read on the subject, but from what I read, most of the cases was homosexuals, wasn't it? Is it not?
Yeah, something about the gays have got more chance of getting it, but I don't know how that works. Again, I've only just started reading into it a bit more because I can see like the same pattern happening as what it did with COVID.
Of course.
So I'm jumping onto it and looking into it as much as I can. Like as soon as I saw that, I was like, yeah, I need to go full steam ahead on this and like work out what it is, because they'll start hiding things like they did with the coronavirus, where all of a sudden you couldn't find things from the '89 medical journal because they deleted it all off the internet, where it actually states that coronavirus stood for the common cold. They'd hid simple things like that to fool everyone. Yeah, like AIDS.
It's, what I've learned, Donna, is narrative after narrative. They're not taking the foot off the pedal. Same again. Well, yeah, they're not trying to promote prosperity with people. They're trying to instill so much fear that the person will become submissive to the state. This is all, but we might as well speak Chinese.
The state can kiss my big hairy ass.
Sorry, what was that?
It says, I'll never come submissive to the state. The state can kiss my big hairy ass.
Well, for anyone who looks into things a little bit more, there's a hell of a lot of resilience that gets built up. And it's a rational resilience. It's not like I'm going to reject something just because I'm paranoid about the state. There's been enough cases where the state have not looked out for people. They've not had accountability. They've kind of been hypocritical all the way. And I will never, I can't overstate this. I will never, ever forget when there were come out that through COVID, through this so-called pandemic, which wasn't, but the level of fear, they were trying to make it an epidemic. They actually used the term, never let a good crisis go to waste.
Yeah.
Now that is, for me, that's like me being sat at home, right? My daughters are going through that much trauma in their life that instead of me supporting them, instead of me trying to alleviate that, I use that to my advantage on it. That's the kind of thing that the politicians done time after time. And they've stopped ever since. There's been one narrative. Soon as one's got boring or what the public psyche's not really paying attention, they'll flip it to something else and get everyone. And there's so much distraction when you're looking at the news in that way that no wonder people can't think anymore.
Yeah, but it's also causing that division. And in turn, if people don't wake up soon, they're going to conquer. It's the whole divide and conquer. If you're not arguing over one thing, you're arguing over another, and it's going to need to work as one.
Of course. That's why I've totally physically removed myself from it, because all you are is a product then. And when you're a product, you're inefficient in what you're actually there for.
Jackie's just pointed out order out of chaos. That is exactly what it is.
Of course. They're kind of messing up the mindset of the average individual. So we can't even work out what's going on. We're all splitting opinions that much that we're not actually coming together. We're moving apart, and we've witnessed that over the past 3, 4, 5 years. I've never known anything so divisive as COVID, because that brought it round the coffee table. It brought every family member into the argument. Whereas normally race, politics, gender, it'll only affect a certain amount of people in the household, because some in the household don't give a shit, don't want to get into politics, don't want to do this, But COVID, all of a sudden, everyone, they're not coming to meals, you're not getting a job, you're not coming round this, I can't come see you. Mothers falling out with daughters, sons falling out, and it's like, what the fuck? I've never known such a state of affairs that I'm sure won't be over now. We're still suffering the families will be still suffering ramifications for all that that's going on.
Well, it's like there's people that, while you've got elitists and famous people dying in hospital with their families around them, but you've got people, just a normal, like, fuck you, Jack, you could die on your own in hospital, and families have been left distraught because they've not been able to say goodbye, the final goodbyes, or they've not even been able to touch the funeral because they've done what they've done with the numbers at the funeral. It has had a mass. Well, you might as well just press the big destruction button, because there's people with mental health issues out there now that are never ever going to be the same again.
Why is not an inquest to all that's gone on? One Ukrainian, anything happens to them in this country, no doubt the world will stop straight away. If they're not allowed in, if anything happens, if they go in a supermarket, that security guard pushes them. Imagine the shit that had hit the fan.
Exactly.
A freaking refugee like that, or an immigrant or whatever. You know what I mean? But yet you've got this that's going on. It's totally been overlooked. As far as I'm concerned, the death count, has still not been verified.
Well, the most recent one that we could work out was somewhere near the truth, was about 17,000 that it actually killed in the end.
And remember, Neil Ferguson, 500,000 deaths if you don't lock down the economy.
He's bloody predictions, though, isn't he? He always has been.
But this goes back to what Jackie's saying. This is a philosophy I've always run with: problem, reaction, solution. Yeah. They create the problem because we're a bunch of dumb fucks that's more worried about ourselves. We react to that problem. And then once we react, they can come in and go, well, we can solve it, but it's going to cost you this. 9 times out of 10, because the average person can barely scratch their own arse. I'm sorry to say it, but this is the public that we so love, but yet still wear masks when they don't need to. So I'm going to call weakness when I see it. These are the ones that scream for the solution, which means our rights are diminishing. And I've witnessed that in my own life from 2001. The lifestyle you could have pre-2001 to now, Jesus Christ, I can't even explain it to my kids because they wouldn't even believe me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bloody hell. But you know what, Donna? I've really loved this chat, and it's like getting on nearly 2 hours.
We try and keep it small. We never manage though, do we?
Around the houses, innit? I've got shit to say. You've got to say it. Get it off your chest.
I'm sure we still need to do that once a week spot of what was it? Mock the week, like a mock the week style thing.
Yeah, we could pick out, once we get all the riding out of the way, we could sort a slot out. We could pick out a few stories and just rip the shit out of it. Why not? You know what I mean? Mad over it.
Like, because it'd be great if we could find newspaper, especially ones, do you know, when they word them so perfectly, like the one with the COVID, where they said, guy dies of COVID, but if he'd not had his injections, it would have been a lot worse. Did you know when you're thinking, how's it a lot worse? The guy died. How could it have been any worse? And it's stuff like that. Certainly, we need to pick up on it more, and hopefully more and more people will realise to look at how things are worded. Instead of taking what it says for gospel and start fretting, it's like when they say died of or with, there's a difference. Did they die of it or with it? You've got to pick between the words, and I think picking out stuff like that, it'd be quite funny as well, because I learn better when I'm laughing. If we can get people laughing and learning at like looking into things properly at the same time, bonus all around.
Yeah, rather than throwing cups around the room, it's certainly a better option. You know what I mean?
Well, the only time I expect cups to be thrown at me is when I'm in an haunted house. So
Listen, Donna, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Thank you very much
Yeah,
for your
thanks for
time.
having me again. And thanks to everyone that's listened and gone, bloody hell, she goes on. But yeah.
I think we've both done that tonight. Don't you worry about that. You know, that's what people tune in for. So they can engage and hear other people's opinions on certain things. Whether they like it or not, that's up to them to deal with. I've said it. I'm going upstairs now, chill with a wife, and I'm out of here. So it's just one of them. But any last words you'd like to say before we end the stream?
Just keep the vibes high, keep in the light, keep smiling, and stay fucking safe, guys. Every single one of you.
Excellent. Brilliant, Donna. Listen, we'll be in touch over the next week as the event's coming closer and closer. Yeah. But certainly, if you speak to Ethan's family and Ethan himself, give him my love, will you? And cheers, Donna. You have a safe day tomorrow, yeah?
See you later, mate.
See you later, Donna. Tonight, you take
Bye.
Nice one. Wow. Wicked. Right, let me just run through these. Let him magnify. Let him magnify truth, it will magnify him. Let him strengthen truth, it will strengthen him. Let him guard the truth, it will guard him. Let him exalt truth, it will exalt him. Look at wise words there from our Kenneth. I'm telling you, got a nice clientele base on this chat. No Muppets on here. No Muppets. Very profound, philosophical ladies and gentlemen. Look at it. Jesus. Yes, nice one, Robin. You take care. Nice soldier. Yes, even the pissing haters. Thank you very much. It has been a long stream. Thank you for persevering and sticking it out. A big thank you to Ian and also to Donna as well. And a big thanks to the wife, because no doubt a bit of bollocking now, but it's what it is. Greater cause, babes, greater cause. So, guys, you take care. Have a great evening, great rest of the week, and I'll be in touch very soon. One last thing, a massive thank you and a hello to Katie Jane Swallow, childrensmatter.news, and all affiliates. Guys, I love you all, even the pissing haters.
I love you. 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 I love you.
Even the pissing haters.
I love you. 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 I love you.